Yo, what's up guys, we're back. We're going to be doing another prediction video, and this one it's for a pretty good card, man. It's UFC Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov, UFC Vegas 30. Two heavyweights, that like to strike, that are pretty good strikers, and, pretty high-level fighters in the division squaring off, so that should be a good one. There's some pretty good fights mixed in, so definitely excited to break this one down. So, like always, guys, always appreciate all the support, and want to try to get 200 likes on this video, so hit that like button, put a comment down below, tell me what you think about the video, what you think about my picks, what picks you have, what bets you're doing. I'm always intrigued by that. But like always recently, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsors. First, we got EquitySportsAnalytics.com, and this video is brought to you by Equity Sports Analytics, and their dividend promotion, it pays you $25 a unit lost if they lose over a 2-week period, and their last and only payout was $413 on May 13th, so overall they're up money. They haven't been having to pay out at all. They've been, winning people money over and over, but, just know you also have that, safe keep in the back where, if you do lose money, they are going to pay you back. And you can find them, like I said, at EquitySportsAnalytics.com. Obviously, friends don't let friends gamble without math. So that's, a really good website. They always have a really good track record, very good transparency, and definitely recommend them 100%. So show them love. I really appreciate them being a sponsor of the show. And then we also have the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. This is, you can go to getfanatics.app to get the app. You can go in the app store, check it out. And, this is the top 10 right now of competition that I'm doing. Like I said, there's still time to sign up, guys. You could sign up till the end of the year, and you could be in the running for the money right now. So, the winner of this competition is going to get $100 courtesy of Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. So really appreciate them for sponsoring the channel, for sponsoring this competition for you guys. And, currently we still got Bonsai in first place, and we got the top 10 right there. Aiden, Anderson, Ricardo, Mikey, Nick, Robert, Ron, we got the Dream Team in there, Shine X, Swolja Boys. So we got a lot of good people up in there, and I definitely would want to see some more in there. So get up there and sign up for the Get Fanatics app. I'm going to put it in the description below and in the comments, and definitely this is fun to do, as well as big shout out to them and EquitySportsAnalytics.com. So really appreciate both of them supporting the channel and sponsoring the show. And so let's get into it, guys. With this first fight, we got a rebooking here of a fight that was booked a couple weeks ago. I already talked about it a little bit, and I do think it should be a fun fight. Damir Hadzovic, obviously he has his back against the wall here. His last loss, he lost in 44 seconds. He was submitted, but he's taking on a striker here, so he probably will have a little bit of an easier matchup potentially. But, I feel like Yancy Medeiros, obviously, he's a tough veteran. He's also kind of on a bad run where he's lost 3 fights in a row, so he needs to come in here and prove himself, show that, he can still compete in the division. As far as, the way these two guys fight, we got Damir Hadzovic. He's more of a counter-striker. He has a really nice jab, and he really throws it out there real stiff. You see in, certain fights, that's the difference in the fight. He can just keep guys behind his jab and win the fight that way. But now that he's facing a guy like Yancy Medeiros, who's going to have a pretty significant reach advantage over him, and Yancy is pretty good at keeping it at kickboxing range. He has good kicks. So I think that is going to be a bit of an issue for Damir. He's going to have to get on the inside, try to be a little bit more offensive, because he can be low volume. He can also, not really he doesn't do a lot. He likes to, go second, wait for the counter, like I said. So he only averages 2 strikes a minute. Yancy definitely throws more volume. He can keep it at a distance and kind of pick him apart. And Damir, to me, he is a little bit basic. He only really looks for kind of basic boxing combinations. He has a good flying knee, but he doesn't really throw a lot of kicks. Yancy, to me, a little bit trickier. He's a switch stance type of guy. He will throw some nice counter straights, counter hooks. He has pretty good kicking game. And as far as the grappling goes, Damir Hadzovic, he's kind of gotten proven that he's not really a very good grappler. And if you could take him down off of his back, he doesn't really have a good get-up game or a good submission knowledge. So I feel like Yancy is the superior grappler in the matchup, and I do think he's an underrated grappler. He has some pretty nice submissions throughout his career, but I don't really necessarily see him going in here going for the takedowns. One, he's not a great wrestler as it is, and two, he likes to go out there and bang it out for the fans, have fun fights. So this is going to probably be on the feet. I feel like it's going to be a a fight where I think that Yancy's going to be landing more. He's going to be kind of controlling the pace of the fight and being more active. But Timur is going to be able to have a chance to win by having the bigger moments if he can hurt Yancey, if he can land some big shots. But I actually feel like Yancey is just going to be able to show his toughness, show why he's been in the UFC for so many years, and be able to kind of maybe not get some takedowns, but control in the clinch, land some nice shots there, keep the fight at a distance when it is a distance, and use his kicks effectively, be the better guy at range, and just be a little bit busier and be able to get that decision win. So I'm going to go with Yancey Medeiros. I'm going to keep the same pick that I had as last time. But the line's close for a reason. I don't feel like either of these guys in their recent runs have been very trustworthy. So, the pick for me is going to be Yancey Medeiros here. Up next here, we got a battle of two fighters whom I'm not really very high on. Charles Rosa, he comes in the favorite, and he's usually a fighter I feel is overpriced. He's opened as either the favorite or slight underdog in his last 5 fights, and I feel in more than a couple of those spots, he easily could have been a bigger underdog there. But in his last fight, he was around a -200 favorite. He got dominated over 3 rounds against Darrick Minner. Couldn't really get anything going. But his opponent, Justin James, he's been getting that money. He's been doing what he needs to do to stay in the UFC. He is taking a short notice fight. This fight isn't short notice, but he's taking a few short notice fights, and it's gonna be his 5th fight in a year. So he's definitely been putting in that work. 5th fight in the UFC, and he hasn't had a lot of success. Obviously, he's only managed to get his hand raised 1 time, but he's definitely been in there with some really good fighters. He's been in there with killers, so this is definitely a step down in competition and nowhere near as dangerous as his last 3 opponents. His last 2 fights have been up at 155 pounds, where he fought, a pretty good fighter in Gabriel Benitez, very fluid, nice striker. Then he fought a big lightweight, and Devontae Smith got knocked out there. I think they even fought at 160. James came in there on really short notice, so can't hold that against him too badly. James is a killer bee killed fighter, so he likes to go out there and get the job done early. 11 of his 16 wins are in the first round, and his last 5 wins overall have been in the first round. But just looking at this fight from a match perspective, it's a good matchup for Justin James. I feel are a better matchup than his recent fights. What he has issues with usually is fighters who can pressure him, keep the volume high. And when you can put James on the back foot, he isn't as effective. He'll throw less output. And he does have a tendency to shell up, try to use a high guard so fighters can't beat up his body or put longer combinations together that kind of just stymie James's attack. Charles Rosa, he likes to use his karate stance and be, on the outside looking to counter mainly. In this fight, I feel like he needs to try to, go forward and up the volume a little bit, maybe try to mix in some wrestling, look to work his leg kicks and attack the body a lot, get respect with his hands, with his counters, and then try to use his feints to draw out that shelling of James and either bang the body or level change. Keep James guessing, just keep him off balance. And Rosa is pretty good at keeping the range and, landing the body kicks or counter crosses. And I feel after James blows a little bit of his energy, Rosa may be more effective, picking James off. And Rosa's going to be the superior jiu-jitsu guy as well. So if he can get on top, he's probably going to have success. We have seen Justin James isn't really very good off of his back. But, I feel like Charles Rosa, since he's came back from that injury, his wrestling has not looked very good offensively or defensively. Really has kind of gotten dominated off of his back in his recent losses. But in this fight, I just don't think James is going to be able to get the takedowns. If Rosa allows James to, dictate the pace, come forward, I could see James landing the big shot. Justin James has that power right cross. He's accurate. He closes the distance with it pretty well. And Rosa obviously keeps his hands low, so if James can use his low kicks to kind of slow that movement and, use his explosiveness, his speed, close that gap, touch the chin, it could spell the end for Rosa. James also will use some tricky, switch stance combinations. He'll set up his uppercuts and his hooks that way. And if he lands clean, like I said, he could put guys out. But, cardio-wise, he definitely doesn't really hold up past the first round as effectively or as dangerously. And I think Charles isn't going to have to worry about someone shooting on his legs too much in this fight. His striking and movement didn't look too bad versus Kevin Aguilar, and I see him as the tougher guy with better cardio in this matchup. I think that early on he may eat some big punches. James is always live for that first round knockout, And James is going to come in here on a full camp, so he's probably going to be looking a little sharper and better shape. And if he can keep the pace and force exchanges, he's going to win the fight. But I see him slowing down. And with Rosa being super durable, pretty tough, I do think he could survive if he could hit with some big shots and eventually start to land more volume, do his thing. It's probably going to be competitive, but I think Rosa kind of edges it down the stretch in a more low-volume affair, kind of low-level fight. But I think Charles Rosa will get the job done. Up next here with this fight, I'm really not going to spend a ton of time on this one. I don't like the matchup, and I don't like the line at all. I think it's a disgusting line, man, with Julia Avila minus 335. But, I mean, looking at the matchup, we got Julia Avila, who's a more all-rounder. You know, she's pretty strong. That's probably her best asset. She can kind of beat girls up in the clinch. Her power at distance with her punches is pretty good as well. We've seen her, you know, put down Pani Kianzad, hurt her pretty badly, and, you know, definitely hurt girls in the clinch, like I said. And she has pretty good wrestling, top game. And with Julija Stoliarenko, her striking is kind of super wild. She has no defense, you know, kind of just throws whatever comes to her head. She does throw a lot of elbows, and she's definitely game. I mean, she's a girl that's fought in, you know, that bare knuckle with elbows. What's that, Lethway? Yeah, so she's competed in that as well. So, you know, she's definitely game. She's going to go out there and she, you know, won't quit. We've seen her in super bloody fights. But mainly, I mean, on the feet, her defense just doesn't really give her a chance to be effective offensively. And I feel like Avila, with her power, is going to be able to make Stoliarenko, you know, kind of be very hesitant. So I think that, you know, a lot of this fight's probably going to be played out at range if Avila's smart. But, you know, what Julija wants is she wants to get in that clinch, try to, you know, pull guard and try to hit that armbar that she's very good at, or just kind of get into a grappling situation, and that's where she's going to thrive and be most effective. So Avila just has to come in here and be a little bit smarter, you know, maybe try to keep the range a little bit and use her boxing and, you know, try to just hurt Julija with the hands. She could get in the clinch and control her there like Yana Kunitskaya did, you know, knees to the body, hold her against the cage, don't really go to the ground. But I feel like Avila doesn't really have that same level of experience as Yana in the grappling. So I think she should more avoid that overall and just keep it at range. So I'm going to go with Avila here, but she's not a fighter that I really trust fight IQ-wise. She's also had, you know, a lot of things going on, I think, you know, with her gym and, you know, a bunch of stuff. So she definitely, you know, could come in here and have an off performance as well. So definitely would be a little bit cautious of putting her in parlays or betting her there. But the pick for me is going to be Julia Avila. And up next here we got a light heavyweight fight between two guys that are coming off their first UFC win. Marcin Prachnio, he had that big upset against Kilo Roundtree a few months ago, and that win I'm sure gave him some confidence because he was 0-3 previous to that in the UFC and got finished 3 times. Ike Villanueva, he saved his career as well. He had a big knockout against Vinicius Moreira, and you know, he's probably up against it again here where he has to get the win. So, I mean, this fight, it's a striker versus striker type of fight, but it's two different type of strikers. Obviously, Marcin has more of that karate style where he uses a lot of spins, a lot of kicks, keeps it at range, and tries to be pretty, you know, counter with crosses. He's definitely the faster, more athletic guy with the better movement. But I do feel like, you know, his cardio is not really where it needs to be. He really slows down majorly. Even in the Kilo Roundtree fight that he won, that third round, it was very sloppy for both guys, and Khalil didn't really make Marcin work very hard throughout that fight. So I feel like with Ike Villanueva, he's you know, going to be the tougher guy with the better cardio. Both these guys are more first round finishers, but I do feel like Villanueva kind of carries his power and has a style that's more conducive to the later rounds because he doesn't have as much movement. He's not throwing these big explosive kicks, spinning kicks, you know, things like that. He's much more economical. And Ike, you know, he has pretty good boxing. I mean, he definitely has some big, you know, knockout power in his right hand. And he does a good job of setting up his headshots by going to the body. So I think going to the body, especially against a guy that slows down a little bit, is going to be effective for him. His straight and overhand right are very powerful. And I feel like, you know, in this fight, he's definitely going to have a lot of opportunities to land on Marcin in the boxing range, because Marcin's boxing is not very good. His defense isn't very good. He definitely kind of throws a lot of naked kicks out there, especially when he gets tired. He starts to float his chin, and we've seen him once he's hurt. He doesn't really have good composure, good fight IQ. So I feel like, Ike Villanueva, he should win this fight. But Marcin Prachnio, he has the advantages in terms of the athleticism, and he could maybe land a big kick or a big shot in the first round early on and kind of hurt Ike, take him out. I don't really see either guy wrestling, but I actually feel like Villanueva is the superior grappler. So I'm going to go with Ike Villanueva in this fight. I feel like he should get the victory, and I feel like he's just going to be able to kind of walk Marcin down, take the shots that he gets from him early, because Marcin's used to running a lot of guys over, and most of his wins taking him out in that first round. And in his last fight, credit to him, he did weather a storm. He got hurt against Roundtree and was able to survive. But I think Ike Villanueva is going to be a little bit more offensive, and I think he's going to, be able to connect with that right hand that puts out Marcin Prachnio. And I feel like Ike Villanueva is going to get another victory here. So I'm going to go with Ike Villanueva. Up next here, we got a short notice replacement fight with Jeremiah Wells coming in here to take on Warrlley Alves. Warrlley Alves, he's been a very inconsistent guy. He's had some excellent performances, just like his last fight, but other fights he's came out of shape or just didn't look good in the fight. During the last fight week, Alves did seem as if he had turned a corner a little bit mentally. He wanted to make a run for the title, but at the end of the day, he has to string some wins together, and show that he's serious. It can't just be talk to get back into relevancy in the division. And his opponent here, Jeremiah Wells, is a recognizable name because he was scheduled to fight Miguel Baeza late last year in the UFC. Unfortunately for him, Baeza was not medically cleared, and the fight was canceled. Wells has not fought since, and he actually didn't fight in all of 2020. So this is going to be his first fight in 21 months. And this is going to be his first fight in the UFC, obviously, but he does have some experience. He's main evented CES shows. He's won the belt in Cage Fury and CES, so he's won in both of the major promotions up north. And he's another one of these Renzo Gracie Fili products. He's joining these guys like Paul Felder, Sean Brady, Pat Sabatini that made it to the UFC. And he also brings that nice grappling pedigree as well with him, and he's shown that grappling in past fights. Wells, he's kind of a beast athletically. He's very quick. He's light on his feet. He has very good in and out movement. He switches stances. He likes to counter punch. And he throws a lot of oblique kicks. He'll throw some front kicks to the body, round kicks to the body. And he definitely has one-shot power. And he sets up his shots with his jabs pretty well. He throws some nice combinations. And he comes forward with some nice blitz attacks. He's always faking, and feinting. And when he goes, he's very fast. He definitely, is an explosive, dangerous guy. And in the grappling, he looks strong in the clinch. He looks like he's pretty good on top. And he will use his blitzes to get in on the legs or, back eyes to the cage, control him in the clinch. And like I said, when he gets on top, he does have good control, good ground and pound. He, has a couple rear naked chokes on his belt. So he definitely is a pretty good fighter, but he does slow down a little bit. He's only 2-2-1 in decisions. And, that wide stance, I do believe, is going to give Warrlley Alves a chance to tee off with the low kicks. And I feel like Warrlley's also going to potentially be able to be effective with those big body kicks that he was using against Munir Lazez. And then Warrlley, he has some decent hands, some, quick hands, counters. So he's very aggressive as well. His grappling is pretty good. It's obviously top-notch early on. He kind of has an issue where he gets tired, but his defensive grappling is very good, really good takedown defense. He's been able to beat good wrestlers like Sultan Aliyev, Colby Covington, real nice guillotine. And, I think this is a decent matchup for Warrlley, even though I wouldn't really trust him at that current number as a favorite, because it's always weird when you have a guy, that comes in against someone like Munir Lazez. He's a big underdog, then he, gets the win, and then he's a big favorite or a decent-sized favorite in his next fight. I don't really like playing that, but I do feel like, matchup-wise, Warrlley struggles with pressure fighters that throw a lot of volume, walk him down, make him work. Wells, like you said, he's definitely a great athlete, stance switcher, athletic, closes distance really quick, very fast, but he's not a pressure guy. He doesn't throw a ton of volume. He slows down himself, so I don't think he's going to be able to push the pace super high unless he's kind of changed up his strength and conditioning or what he's going to do in his game over this course of almost 2 years. And I don't think the grappling is going to be there for Wells against elite grappler like Warrlley. So I do feel like Warrlley is going to be able to pressure, use his kicking game pretty effectively at range. The reach advantage is going to go to Jeremiah Wells, so that is something you kind of have to take into account. But I feel like Warrlley is probably going to be able to go out there and get the job done by either decision or he's going to be able to get a quick finish. So I'm going to go with the veteran here in Warrlley Alves. This next fight, this is a crazy matchup here with Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Michel Prazeres. We got Shavkat Rakhmonov, who, he shined in his UFC debut. He showed everyone why he's 13-0 with 13 finishes. He got, thrown in on short notice in a tough spot against a very good veteran like Cowboy Oliveira, and he was able to come out there and get the first-round submission. So it was a really impressive performance. But he's going to be in there with the human fire hydrant, Michel Prazeres, who's making his return to the octagon and for the first time in over 2 years. It's been quite a while. But Prazeres knows what he's doing. He's been in the UFC for almost a decade at this stage, and a very solid record of 8-2 at lightweight. He's always had struggles to make that weight, so he was forced to move up to welterweight in 2018, and he's managed to go 2-1 there, which is pretty impressive because he's 5'6". He's probably the shortest welterweight in the UFC. In this fight, he's going to be at a massive disadvantage in terms of reach and height. He's going to have a 7-inch height disadvantage, 10-inch reach disadvantage. He's also 39 years old, coming off a long layoff. So all those things are kind of pointing towards Shavkat Rakhmonov. And when you watch Michel's last fight against Ismail Nardiev, you could tell that, he really struggled to control the bigger guy on the ground. He, really belongs at 155, 145 even. He's just a really, really big, kind of, Francisco Trinaldo type of guy. But, ultimately I feel like he's really going to struggle to grapple with a guy like Shavkat Rakhmonov, but he has to do it. He has to try to get in on the legs to get respect for the striking. And one thing that Michel does have that people have to respect is he's explosive and he's still, pretty quick, and he can control that distance with his level change pretty well, and he has that big overhand right. So Shavkat Rakhmonov sometimes, will come forward, hands low with his chin a little bit high, a little bit stiff. And, if he throws a lazy jab or if he just comes in a little bit willy-nilly, Michel might be able to come over the top, bang one of them big overhand rights, hurt Shavkat, jump on a submission like he did against Fabinski, or just kind of wobble him. But Shavkat Rakhmonov has way more weapons on the feet. He has way crisper, faster hands. He throws better combinations. He has better kicks. And I feel like his grappling game is very good as well. He has a good submission game. He has a really crushing top game. So ultimately, I feel like Rakhmonov is the superior fighter. He has better cardio. He's been more active. He's only 26 years old, so he's going to be continuing to get better. And Michel Prazeres is live here. He's obviously a wily veteran. He has knockout power, and he has a big, grappling pedigree. So if he can hit the takedowns, he probably will be able to control on top of Rakhmonov, who I have seen taken down before against a real small guy, kind of probably similar frame to Prazeres. So Prazeres is going to have a small chance here, I believe. But ultimately, I believe Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to be able to go in there and get the job done and probably be the first guy to finish Michel Prazeres in Michel Prazeres' career. So that would be a feather in his cap, and I think he has a chance to do it. And up next, we got another light heavyweight fight between two of probably the biggest light heavyweights on the roster, with Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Danilo Marques. We got a guy that, Danilo Marques, who's 6'6". He, has a 77.5-inch reach. And then we got another guy here in Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. So both these guys, super tall guys, skyscrapers. And Marques, he's had a good career. He's been able to spoil the party for, 2 times in a row in the UFC. Went in there as a big underdog, got 2 wins. He had a pretty nice submission win over Mike Rodriguez his last time out. So definitely has some confidence. I also heard Damian Maia is going to be in his corner for this fight, so that is probably going to be another added confidence booster for him. And Kennedy Nzechukwu, he's another one of these guys where he probably has had some added confidence boosted here, because his last fight he went out there against a really touted kickboxing world champion, and Carlos Ulberg was able to knock him out. and showed that potential is there inside of him. Even though he was losing for a majority of that fight, he showed good composure, very good chin, and when he connected on that shot, he landed it and took it out. But this is a very obvious on paper matchup. We got a striker versus a grappler here. Kenny Nzechukwu has already fought a similar opponent in Paul Craig, but I feel like it's a little bit different because Paul Craig is a guard puller. He's not a guy that really is known for his top game, whereas Danilo Marques, what we've seen from him, he's a back taker. He's a really good control guy on top. Very, very old school jiu-jitsu where he keeps the position and really doesn't let guys get up to their feet. He's very, very heavy. So much different games. Kenny Nzechukwu against Paul Craig, had more of a threat of the submission, obviously, and it was more of a dangerous matchup in that concern. But he was able to, land some decent ground and pound from top position, get up a few times from Paul Craig's guard. With Marques, if Marques is on top of him on his back, obviously it's going to be much harder to get back up to his feet or be effective with, offensive strikes. So I do feel like Marques is going to be a different challenge for him that we haven't seen him fight. Kennedy, he's fought some grapplers. He has good takedown defense, and I feel like that is going to be tested here, though, obviously. Marques is one of these guys that, he likes shooting on the legs, come up into the body lock. He'll shoot a single, try to circle to the back. And, Kennedy, he does have very, good sprawl. He has good balance as well. I feel like he's just a little bit green in, the grappling, like scrambles and just extended wrestling, like chain wrestling type of things. But I do feel like with Marques, he's obviously not like a college wrestler or anything like that. So I think Nzechukwu with the range as well, having that big reach advantage, which I feel like Marques is probably not used to in his career, that's going to be effective for him in my opinion. And I do feel like Kennedy, he does have very nice hands when he lets him go. He throws a good jab. He throws really nice straight punches, very fluid, nice front knee to the body. And he has good composure, good cardio, and a good chin. So those things are all stuff that you could point to and really like. So I do feel like Kennedy, with his athleticism, with his cardio, with his chin, is only going to continue to get better. He's only going to continue to, gain confidence and start to, open up and show what he could do in that octagon. So I am going to favor Kenny Nzechukwu here, and I do think he can get it done, but I do feel like this is a test that we haven't really seen him fight. If Marques gets on top of him, takes his back, it could be game over for him. So it is a matchup that obviously you have to respect Marques, who's came in here and gotten 2 upset victories in a row. You can't get too crazy on Kenny Nzechukwu thinking he's going to be a lock or a dominant victory here. But for me, I am going to pick him as the win. And I think he could even get a knockout here. So give me Kennedy Nzechukwu. And to kick off the main card, we got a great fight here with Herbert taking on Renato Moicano. And obviously Renato Moicano, we've seen him in the UFC for a long time. He's been in there with the who's who. He's fought guys like Korean Zombie, like Brian Ortega, like Jose Aldo. So, he's seen that high level competition that Herbert, is dreaming to get to one day. But every single time he's kind of been at that level, except for the Calvin Kattar fight, Jeremy Stephens, he's been able to pick up some nice wins. But more recently, he's kind of got it knocked down. And he's been knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights. So his chin, very questionable at this point. It's not something that you could really bank on or be confident in. And he's going to be taking on a guy in Herbert, who is a little bit older as well, but he made his UFC debut in his last fight. He was in there against Francisco Trinaldo. And, unfortunately for him, he was winning the fight, but Trinaldo just landed a big bomb, knocked him out. And, Herbert, both of his losses have been by knockouts, so obviously his chin maybe isn't as good as it needs to be. But, in this fight against Moicano, I feel like offensively he's going to give Moicano some issues because this is going to be the first time that Renato Moicano has fought a fighter taller than him in his entire career. And Herbert, he's a very sharp striker. I mean, he has a piston jab. His 1-2s, his right cross in general is just money. Very fast. He has nice 3-2s. He has good clinch strikes, good elbows, good knees. And he has some great knockouts, man. He definitely has power. I think it's kind of, more accuracy and speed that puts guys down. But he's definitely a guy that, he can get some knockouts. And he doesn't check kicks, though, which is going to be something that I think that Renato Moicano is going to want to attack here. And another thing about Moicano that, gets unnoticed sometimes is his grappling. And Jai Herbert doesn't really have great takedown defense. His get-up game isn't the best. So against Moicano, I think that he's going to struggle if he gets put on his back. He could get potentially submitted. We saw him, have some issues a little bit with Francisco Trinaldo in the grappling realm. I think Moicano is really going to want to use that low kick and try to run and, move him into either straight punches or the level change, take him down. And Jai Herbert, he's going to need to pressure, keep Moicano at the end of his punches. And if he can land some clean shots, obviously we've seen Moicano's chin, obviously has been susceptible recently to getting knocked out. So both of these fighters, though, are mainly range strikers. I mean, Moicano will level change, go for that takedown, but they both like to work behind their jabs, stay long. And the issue with that for Moicano is, like I said, this is going to be the first fighter in Moicano's career that's going to have a height advantage over him. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. And Herbert does a good job of staying long. He does a good job of, keeping the jabs out there, the straight shots, good hand speed. If he can keep Moicano at the end of his shots, he's probably going to find that punch that takes Moicano out. And he's a very precise fighter. Almost all of his wins are via knockout. Moicano, like I said, his chin is not really held up recently. Herbert, he needs to, watch out for those leg kicks. And he needs to be ready to counter those, make Moicano pay for throwing those. But I'm going to go with Jai Herbert here. I just don't trust the chin of Renato Moicano. I think he's going to struggle with the range. It's not like he's a super great or active wrestler. If Herbert doesn't overextend or give him an opportunity, keeps it at a good distance, I don't see Moicano being able to get that easy takedown. And I think Jai Herbert can land that shot and take him out. So I'm going with Jai Herbert here. And, I've been pretty good predicting these Moicano fights and fading him. So, I do feel like Herbert has a chance to get the victory here, and he has, a pretty juicy number next to his name. So I'm going to go with Jai Herbert here. With this next fight, we got two veterans, and we got kind of a clash of striking styles with Nicolas Dalby taking on Tim Means. Tim Means, he was coming in here. He was the guy that had a full camp for this fight. Dalby's coming in on short notice. So that is something you have to kind of take into account a little bit. And, Nicolas Dalby, he had that win in his last fight against Daniel Rodriguez. But that's a, very controversial fight that a lot of people felt Rodriguez won. Tim Means, on the other hand, is coming off two pretty impressive victories that, he's been able to kind of dominate both guys in Lariano Staropoli and Mike Perry. But, Means needs to get this victory over Dalby to kind of get back into that top 15 conversation. And the way both these guys fights is it's going to be two strikers, but Nicolas Dalby is more of a karate style. He likes to stay on the outside, uses kicks, use these blitzes to, close distance with a cross or, 1-2 combination or some hook combos. And he usually ends his combinations with high kicks, which are pretty effective. He has good low kicks as well. And, Tim Means, he's more of a boxer. He switches stances, but in this fight I expect him to be southpaw. He's been southpaw in a lot of his recent fights, and for both stances, though, he has a really nice jab, and he really just sets up some nice boxing combos. He's very sharp, technical, good counters. On the inside, he obviously has those good elbows, good knees, and he's been able to start implementing his grappling a little bit more, level changing under guys' aggressiveness, and hitting some reactive doubles, hitting some nice body locks, and Tim Means on top doesn't really have the best top control. I feel like Dalby as well kind of is a similar type of guy that has some good reactive takedowns but doesn't really have the best top control. So I think this fight is going to play out primarily on the feet. And the one thing that I do think is going to be the difference and give the win to Tim Means, bottom line, is just the southpaw look. I think that Tim Means with that southpaw stance is going to be able to control with the jab and with his boxing, be more effective. I think he's going to start to be able to counter those blitzes of Dalby. And I think that Dalby, he's even said it himself. He struggles with southpaws. He's 1-6 against southpaws. And that one win was against Daniel Rodriguez in a fight that I didn't feel like he deserved to win. So I feel like against Tim Means, he's just going to struggle to strike with Tim Means at range. I think that Means on the feet is, or not at range, but I think just he's going to struggle on the feet. I think Means is going to be able to get it into his own range, the boxing range, and, just be able to piece him up, land the jab, land the crosses, land some counters as Dalby comes in and get him a little bit gun shy. And I think he could maybe even hit some reactive takedowns, get on top, control. So I just feel like Tim Means is going to be a little bit sharper. He also had the full camp. I just have more trust in Tim Means getting the job done here. So if Tim Means' chin wasn't, kind of regressing, I would be a little bit more confident. But I'm still pretty confident that Tim Means is going to get the win in this one. And in this next one, we got Andre Fili taking on Daniel Pineda. And I kind of told you guys about Daniel Pineda in the last one. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's a killer. He's a guy that goes out there and gets finishes. Definitely a badass, but there's a lot of limitations. His striking is not very good. He has some power in his low kicks and in his overhands, but very sloppy, slows down majorly. And if you can, keep it on the feet, have good fight IQ, you're probably going to beat this guy and maybe even be able to take him out by knockout or by submission, hurting him and submitting him. Pineda, what he likes to do is he obviously is a really good grappler. He's a black belt. He has a great submission game, very good on top or on bottom. So he just likes to be very wild with his striking. He throws a lot of big power. He does have real nice low kicks. And, he wants to just either get in on the legs, get the double leg takedown against the cage or some sort of takedown, or he wants to, fall on his back on a kick that he throws or a punch, just really overextending. And he wants you to follow him to the ground, where then you'll hit his sweep, you'll work his submission game off his back, and, he'll go to work from there. But when Pineda gets on top, he's one of the strongest guys at 145. You could just see it in his build as well. And you could just bully these guys, posture up, land big ground and pound, get into dominant positions. Like he was able to crucifix a really legit grappler like Herbert Burns and finish him from there, which is not something that you see very often, to a jiu-jitsu black belt. And Pineda, he's just a bad dude. He's in the grappling realm. He's definitely going to be a far superior to Fili. Fili does not want to be on bottom of this guy. But with Andre Fili, he's one of these guys that he likes to keep the range. He's a good counter striker. He has a kind of a bad style matchup for Pineda because he's long, he's rangy, he can control the distance, like he said, and he has good punches. He's not a super kicker. I don't think he's going to, kind of fall into those tricks of Pineda where he's going to fall him to the ground. He has a good fight IQ. And the thing about Fili, though, is he can be taken down, but I do feel like he's going to be able to keep it on the feet, and I don't think Pineda's going to have the cardio to continuously wrestle over 3 rounds. So even if he does kind of get beat up in an early round, I think that he'll be able to survive that and kind of bring it back towards the end of the fight. And, with Pineda, I just don't think he has the gas tank, so I think that Fili's going to kind of be able to beat him how he beat these guys like Dennis Bermudez. There are other good grapplers by being able to deny a lot of the takedowns, keep the range counter, uses, nice crosses, maybe even makes in some low kicks of his own, and just try to, get Pineda hesitant to that level change or get him tired where he doesn't want to level change, force him to strike with you, and from there just use your finesse and superior striking to get the job done. So I'm going to go with Fili in this one. I just think he's the better fighter all around. Pineda, if he can get on top in top position, he could finish anyone in the division. I mean, this guy has, I believe, 27 finishes in his 27 wins. So definitely is a bad guy, but I'm going to go with Andre Fili here by decision. And up next year, man, I mean, this is one of my favorite fights of the year, man. This is a hell of a matchup. We got Raoni Barcelos taking on Timur Valiev, and I feel like both these guys deserve more respect. I think Raoni Barcelos, man, he's one of the most underrated guys in the UFC. He's been putting it down in the UFC for a while now, and he just hasn't been able to get this big fight. But if he could beat Timur Valiev, I mean, man, give him a fucking top 5, top 10 guy eventually, man. You got to give it to him. But, we got 2 guys that are super high level here, very well-rounded fighters. The only thing that I think separates them or that gives someone an advantage is the ability of Raoni Barcelos to be an all-around grappler. And my thing on that is just he's more comfortable off of his back. So, that's definitely, to me the only difference. Whereas I feel like Valiev is, less comfortable there. But on the feet, I feel like Timur, he's really, really excellent distance control guy. He has really good kicks. He's shifty. He keeps the range. He has a lot of good movement. And he does a good job of, just using his feints to set up his attacks and using his feints to, get reads on what he wants to throw next. He's a really good takedown game as well. He likes the single leg. And, when he gets the takedowns, his top control isn't the greatest. But, he can ride guys out from that wrestling ride position, land some big punches, tire him out. He has good cardio. He has, good body attack. We saw against Trevin Jones, he almost finished him to the body. But, with his kicking game, his hands, to me, aren't really as good. He doesn't really use a lot of boxing combinations. He really throws, 1-2 strike combinations, come in with the 1-2 or 2-3s, big overhands, some hook combinations. But he also kind of, in boxing range, will, stay there too long after he throws punches. He can get countered. He also will throw some naked kicks, which gets him countered as well. We saw against Trevin Jones. That happened. He got knocked out. And Raoni Barcelos, in my opinion, has some of the better hands in the UFC and in the 135-pound division. He has very fast hands, really sharp, good distance control, great jab, good 1-2. He, has really sharp, tight hooks. He has big power in his hands, and he will mix it up. He'll go to the body, go to the head. He does a good job ending his combinations with either low kicks or head kicks, so he'll mix that up. He'll go to the body with, his kicks, his front kicks. Doesn't really throw a lot of spins or flying knees, those attacks that Valiev throws, but he will come forward and, throw some, big uppercuts. He'll throw some shots that do leave him susceptible to the takedown, but I feel like he doesn't really have a fear of the takedown. He has a good get-up game. He has a good guard game, and, he knows if he can get taken down, he can get right back up to his feet. So I think that in this fight, he's going to be the guy that takes the front foot, and he's going to be pressuring, and Valiev is going to be on the back foot, looking to, set up his counter strikes, set up his kicks. And I think that Barcelos is going to have more success with the hands and with the low kicks than Valiev does with his kicking game. And I feel like a thing that Barcelos is going to do in this fight, similar to what he did against Said Nurmagomedov, is look for the takedowns himself. He's one of the best wrestlers in the division and one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the division. So he's a super well-rounded fighter, and I feel like if he can get the takedown, get on top, he's going to be far more effective than Timur Valiev is at controlling and even potentially finding a finish. So I think that Barcelos is going to be able to just mix it up, go forward, use his feints, use his fakes, use his low kicks, his straight punches, his jabs to keep that range, kind of make Timur Valiev pay with for some naked kicks, for some mistakes, or some counters, hit some takedowns, and when he gets on top, I think that's going to be the difference of the fight. I could see him taking the back, controlling. I could even see him getting a submission. So I'm going to go with Raoni Barcelos to get to 17-1 here. And in the co-main event here, I don't really like this fight. We got Ovince Preux taking on Tanner Boser. Obviously, OSP is going to be moving back up to heavyweight for this fight. He had that one fight stint at heavyweight where he took on Ben Rothwell. He couldn't get the job done in that one, but now he's going to be taking on another heavyweight that's a little bit closer to his size, smaller guy, in Tanner Boser. So it's going to be interesting to see how he matches up with Boser. And Boser, he's coming off a loss just like 2-3 weeks ago where he fought Ilir Latifi, and he had a decent showing, but he just couldn't stop the takedown in the first and the third round, got held on his back and couldn't get back up to his feet. Boser, he's quick, he's agile for a heavyweight, he has good feints, good mobility, and he likes to kind of use his jab. He'll try to double jab his way into range, double jab low kick, double jab cross, double jab overhands, and he loves to attack with that switch stance overhand left. He'll throw that all the time. That shot led to both of his knockouts in the UFC. And, he does have fast hands, so if he can hurt you, he will go for the kill. He has some decent combination punching. But he doesn't really do much. He was working some decent body and head kicks in his last fight, and I do believe one of those high kicks broke Ilir Latifi's forearm. So that is something that, you have to kind of give him some credit for. But, I don't feel like he's just a very limited striker. He doesn't have power. He isn't super athletic. He doesn't throw a lot of variation. So I think he's very readable. He's not very dangerous, and he's just not the greatest striker. But grappling wise, like I said, with Ilir Latifi, he got taken down in that first round. He got controlled for like 4 minutes. Got taken down in the third round, got controlled for like 4 minutes. So obviously, in 3 weeks, he's not going to improve that. If OSP could catch a kick, get him to the ground, he's probably going to have a lot of success on top. And, I do feel like Boser, in that round 3 against Latifi, it was 1-1 with all the marbles to play for, and he just didn't really show a lot of, want to get back up to his feet. He kind of just allowed himself to lose that fight. But he brings good cardio, a sturdy game, and, he comes into the fight one style, one pace, and he doesn't really make a lot of adjustments, so he's not like a fighter that's, going to wow you or going to be able to come through adversity, in my opinion. But he's a guy that, if he's winning early on, he's probably going to win throughout the whole fight. You know what you're going to get from him. And OSP is kind of like the complete opposite. He comes in one time, he looks great. Another time, he looks terrible. And he's kind of been this up-down yo-yo throughout his whole UFC career. But OSP in this fight, he's going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage. And he is going to have the, benefit of having this southpaw versus orthodox stance where his king game is going to be very open for him, which is, primarily what he likes to attack with on the feet. He has really nice low kicks, body kicks, head kick. He throws them up there really fast. They're powerful. We've seen him knock out guys with high kicks like Corey Anderson. And I do see him, I think he's going to be smashing that front kick, round kick to the body on Boser, trying to go up top with the head kicks, staying really active, trying to kind of, take away that right hand in the boxing of Boser with his kicks. And I feel like Boser does kind of like to stay at that kickboxing range, which is going to give OSP, a lot of chance to be effective. But OSP, he's older. His chin to me is not as good as it used to be. So Boser is going to have a chance with the speed advantage in terms of the hand speed, I believe, as well. To, close that gap, land some nice punches, or land that big overhand over the top and hurt OSP. But OSP is going to be the better grappler also. If he can catch a kick, get it to the ground, control on top, he's probably going to be able to win that way as well. So, it's just going to come down to if Boser can close that distance and make it a boxing fight, keep the pace, which, he has decent cardio for heavyweight. OSP does tend to slow down, so that is something that Boser has under his disposal. I wouldn't really throw a lot of kicks because OSP is going to be looking to catch the kicks and bring it to the ground. Just try to use the hands mainly for Boser and try to pressure more, stay out of that kickboxing range as much as you can, even though you kind of like to hang out there. And I'm going to go with Boser in this one. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, say that he kind of gets through this test. But I actually think this is a decent matchup for OSP. And, if his chin wasn't so bad and if his cardio wasn't so bad, I would maybe, have a little bit more faith in picking him here. But at heavyweight, too, I don't think that's going to help his cardio. And I feel like Boser might just be able to take it down the stretch, but wouldn't really be surprised how this fight goes either way. Don't really see a big future for either of these guys, but I'm going to go with Tanner Boser here. Then here we go, man. We got an excellent main event here with Ciryl Gane taking on Alexander Volkov. And, man, I'm seeing a lot of people super confident on Volkov this week. It seems like he's almost a consensus underdog pick. And you can understand why. When you see a guy with 41 fights versus a guy with 8 fights, you see the level of competition and just the overall experience that Volkov has accrued over that type of record in comparison to Ciryl Gane, and that's a big advantage. But, in this type of matchup, it's going to be something that Ciryl is very used to. It's going to be a kickboxing fight. I don't really see Volkov looking for level changes, trying to get the fight to the ground. He's not a very good wrestler. He does have the better jiu-jitsu most likely. I think he's a brown belt or a black belt. But it's probably going to be a range striking fight, and Cyryl's going to be right at home. He's going to have plenty of experience to compete with a guy like Volkov in that type of realm. But, Alexander Volkov, he's, switched it up a little bit. He's came in and gained some weight, and it looks like he's put some more power into his punches, into his kicks. Really been effective. And, before I feel like maybe he just didn't have that pop to get guys to fully respect his power. He's always been a very effective striker. But Volkov is one of these guys that is a super nice jab. He's kind of plodding. He comes forward. He throws that front kick up the middle. Heavy round kicks to the body, to the head. But, like I said, he is plodding a little bit. But the one thing that he does have, if he doesn't have foot speed, is hand speed. Very fast hands. He throws combinations, which is, not really seen that much at heavyweight. So he does a good job throwing a lot of 3-2s, 1-2-1s. He'll throw uppercuts mixed in. He'll go to the body. So he really does a good job of kind of, mixing up his hand combos. And I do believe he probably has the better hands in comparison to Ciryl Gane. Like, if he can back Ciryl Gane up to the cage, where he usually likes to get most of his work off, when he can back guys up to the fence, which, he likes to do behind his fakes, his feints, his front kicks, and his jab, he will go to work with long combos and really try to hurt guys and put him away in that position. And more recently, I do feel like I said he's been flashing more power just overall, so that makes him a more dangerous guy. But he still has that plodding footwork, And I feel like Ciryl Gane's going to have a big movement speed advantage. And Ciryl Gane's a guy that, he likes to keep it at kickboxing range. So he's going to be trying to work his kicks. He has really nice front kicks, round kicks, spinning kicks. He, throws kicks very effortlessly. He could go 5 rounds. And he really does a good job of maintaining that distance, countering with his hands, not opening up, being smart, showing good fight IQ. And Ciryl Gane is just a very educated striker. I think that Volkov is going to have a really hard time pinning him up against that cage and throwing combinations. I don't think that he's going to be able to really, cut Ciryl Gane off and get him in those exchanges. I think Gane's going to be working the counters and the movement. If it was, the bigger octagon, I do feel like Gane would have more of an advantage. But even in this one, Gane is a guy that, he has good counter punches, and Volkov doesn't really move his head. He could plod forward. So I feel like Gane, if he could just land, counters, circle out the way, attack the body with some nice round kicks, front kicks, work the low kicks as well, try to kind of slow Volkov down. Both these guys have great cardio as well. And just keep that range. Don't let Volkov, force him into boxing exchanges. I think that he could be very effective. I just feel like Ciryl Gane is going to be the faster guy with the better footwork. And, what that entails, I believe, is just him landing shots, Volkov plodding in, trying to, connect with his longer combos or with his jab and getting touched up, and Ciryl Gane moving, being out of there before Volkov can land the counter. And I just think Ciryl Gane's going to be able to get ahead on the numbers. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a super entertaining fight. Maybe it's going to be more like not like his last fight, because I do think Volkov is going to bring that pace. But it's not going to be Ciryl Gane going out there and slugging it out. He's not going to take a lot of risks. He's going to be smart. He's going to play it safe. He's going to keep that range, that distance. And I think he's going to be able to just outpoint Volkov, get the win. And I could also even see Ciryl Gane mixing in some takedowns. I mean, that's something that I like to see out of Ciryl Gane. He's one of these heavyweights that wants to try to be well-rounded, where you see most heavyweights, they're just very heavy into one skill set. And Volkov, he's shown really bad takedown defense in the past. So if you can kind of keep it on the feet and it's competitive for 2-3 rounds, Volkov's kind of forgetting about that defense. Level change on him, get a takedown, get on top, and see what you can do from there. See if you can mix it up, get some control time, get some, winning minutes through that. So I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane here. I just think he's going to be the cleaner, sharper, more finesse striker, be able to move around, keep the distance, and land more on the numbers. And I feel like Ciryl Gane's going to be able to get it done. So I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane in the main event here. And there you have it, guys. I really hope you like this breakdown. I hope you guys had fun watching the card as well. It's going to be a great card in my opinion. A lot of fun fights that could end in finishes. But so my parlay of the week for this week is going to be Raoni, Barcelos, and Shavkat, Rakhmonov. My most confident pick for this week is going to be Shavkat, Rakhmonov. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you guys later.